The Cincinnati Bengals involved in maybe the most suspicious-looking line of the week, only a 1-point favorite on the road in Cleveland. Cleveland Browns, of course, winless, 0-5. They start a rookie at quarterback, Brandon Weeden. Cincinnati, 3-2. I know they lost to the Miami Dolphins last week. Still, 3-2 on the year. A playoff team last year. I think most people view the Bengals as an ascending team. They have a young nucleus of talent. Yet, as we said, only a 1-point favorite right now on BETDAQ against Cleveland this week. 44 is the total in this game. And when you first look at this game, it looks like a no-brainer. We mentioned suspicious, fishy-feeling line here. Cincinnati generally regarded as a better team than Cleveland. But when you look a little closer, some trends point towards the Cleveland Browns here and some things that would make me very nervous if I was a Bengals fan or a Bengals bettor. First of all, let's talk about the line movement in this game. Out in Vegas, Cincinnati opened as a 3-point favorite. This line quickly was bet down to Cleveland -1. Quickly moved anyway to Cincinnati -1. Excuse me, not Cleveland -1. Yet, since then, Cincinnati has been one of the favorite public bets of the week out in Vegas. Public money pouring in on the Bengals. Yet the line has not budged back up in the Bengals' direction, back up towards 3 where it started. A lot of people call that reverse line movement. And it might sound like a bunch of gamblers mumbo-jumbo, and sometimes it feels like that when it doesn't work out, when the so-called, the obvious side, the side that, which would be the Cincinnati side in this case, goes on to win. But sometimes when you see suspicious lines like this, and when you see this quote-unquote reverse line movement, you look at it a little closer, the Bengals have been a bad team to back recently. Even though they've been a good team overall, again, 3-2 on the year, made the playoffs last year, they have failed to cover in any of their last 7 division games. Any of their last 7 AFC North games, 0-5-2 against the spread in their last 7 division games. Overall, 3-8-3 in their last 14 overall. So Bengals have been a bad team to back in their last 14 overall. That's 3-8-3 against the spread, of course, not 3-8-3 overall. Cleveland, meanwhile, even though they've been losing games, they've been a profitable team to back. The Browns 4-0-1 against the number in their last 4 division games, last 4 games against AFC North opponents. 4-0 against the number in their last 4 games against winning teams. We saw it again last week. They were big underdogs, the Baltimore Ravens. They lost that game, but they pulled out a cover. So when you see situations like this where you've got one team that's clearly bad, I mean the Browns are 0-5 on the year, they're a bad team. You've got another team with a good record, a team that's thought of as good, that made the playoffs last year. Not saying that Cleveland's a better team than Cincinnati, but certainly the opinions of these two teams are a little out of whack. I mean, it's inarguable. Right now, over the last 12, 13 games that these two teams have played, which means this season, the end of last season, Cincinnati, even though they might be better than Cleveland, they're overvalued. They're overrated. When teams win but don't cover numbers, that means the opinion of these teams, the perception of these teams is a little out of whack. The same holds true when teams are losing games like the Browns, yet pulling out covers. The Browns just aren't as bad as people think they are. Browns are solid on defense. They'll be getting their best defensive back, maybe their best defensive player back for this game. Joe Hayden back from suspension. He'll be shadowing A.J. Green, the star Bengals wide receiver, all game. So, the Browns, I guess they do have some. It's hard to make an argument for the Browns. Trent Richardson's a good young running back. They've got a good offensive line. Not much of the wide receiver position. Brandon Weeden, again, a rookie quarterback who throughout most of this season has played like a rookie. They do have a solid defense. They are getting Joe Hayden back. But the best argument I can make for the Browns is, again, what some people might call gamblers mumbo-jumbo, things like the reverse line movement, things like the trends, which clearly point towards a Cleveland win here. But Cincinnati, the odds makers are starting to catch on to the fact that this Cincinnati team is not as good as a lot of people think they are, as I think they are, as most people I think they are, a playoff team. Because Cincinnati, this is the 4th game in a row where they've been involved in a line that I deem suspicious since their Week 2 game against Cleveland. These two teams met in Week 2, Cincinnati winning by 7, line ended up pushing. Bengals were a 7-point favorite. Bengals actually dominated that game for most of the game. Cleveland sort of came back at the end and stole the push. Ruined some Bengals bettors' day there, I'm sure, because it looked like a winning ticket if you were backing the Bengals for most of the game. But the last 3 games Cincinnati's been involved in, this is the 4th game in a row. 3 games ago, 3-point underdogs to the Washington Redskins, despite the fact the Redskins, starting a rookie quarterback, just lost to the St. Louis Rams. Again, Cincinnati, as we mentioned, a playoff team last year. A 3-point underdog against the Washington Redskins. Thought that was sort of funny. Cincinnati ended up winning that game. The very next week, Cincinnati only a 1-point favorite, and in some places, when the lines closed, Jacksonville was actually a 1-point favorite. Cincinnati only a 1-point favorite against the terrible Jacksonville Jaguars. That seemed kind of low because, again, general opinion is that Cincinnati is a much better team than Jacksonville. Cincinnati ended up winning that game, won, and obviously covered in that game. And then last week, despite the fact Cincinnati is 3-1 and at home, facing a 1-3 Miami Dolphins team, Cincinnati only a 3-point favorite in that game. We mentioned throughout the week that line felt kind of suspicious, and lo and behold, Cincinnati lost that game to the Miami Dolphins. So once again, Cincinnati involved in another one of these games. The Bengals, you look at it, you say, hey, they're more than 1 point better than the Browns, right? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm staying away from this game this week. I don't know what to make of this game. There's just about no outcome here that would surprise me. Again, I think the Bengals are the better team, but maybe I'm just brainwashed like everybody else by their record and whatnot. Maybe I'm overvaluing the Cincinnati team and undervaluing Cleveland. If so, I would not be alone. As I've said, that seems to be what most people are doing nowadays. So we'll see. It'll be interesting on Sunday. We'll see which one of these sides turns out to be the right one. Gun to my head right now, just because I believe in all this gamblers mumbo-jumbo stuff, I have a feeling the Cleveland Browns might pull out their first win of the season.